This is Global Morning again. It's a delight. We're thanking God for the gift of life. I'm Uyi Agmofwegbe, and as always, we've been gifted with an amazing gift on the program this morning. Juma Manson, it's good to see you.
Flattery will get you nowhere.
Well, somebody said it would.
Good morning, Mr. Uyi. How are you doing?
I've been getting very well.
It's great to have you side by side with me.
Yeah, me too.
This beautiful program, Global Morning. And to everyone out there, good morning to each and every one of you. I am Juma Manson. It's a beautiful day. It's a time to be happy, to be focused, to, just make the best out of it. Like I always say, once there is life, there is hope. So let's be expectant, let's be happy, and pray for the greater good of Nigeria. Very important.
Yeah, greater good of Nigeria. A lot of persons won't buy any of that, but Juma's point is eternally valid because the progress of Nigeria is the progress of us all.
Yes, it is.
That's when I hear people saying very nasty things about Nigeria because you're not comfortable with the president's position or the government's policies. What you don't realize is that presidents will come and go, governors will come and go, elections will come and go, but the country remains. The nation, which is essentially the people, would always remain. And therefore, even if you differ with the political class or the individuals within that class, you must realize that it is not the same thing as your nationhood or your nationality. And that's the reason Nigerians don't seem to appreciate the fact that this is the land God has blessed us with until they've moved abroad, they've lived elsewhere.
Very true.
Then they begin to, as my friend would say, compare and contrast. And then they realize that, oh, hold on for a second. It may not be perfect back at home, but there's this element, there's this factor that I can't find there. I remember in 2006, a pastor shared something with me and he said, look, do you know, I traveled to Singapore for the first time, and just between my hotel room and a store where I was supposed to buy a camcorder, I had to be identifying myself, showing my ID time and again. And I wonder, in Nigeria, for 10 years, nobody cares about your ID, nobody's interested.
No one cares.
So he was not able to see both sides of the coin, as I say. So we can fight ourselves over things that are not working, things we do not like, things we believe, quite frankly, should be better, should be improved upon.
Very true.
But we can't take away the fact that we have something to even fight about. At least we have life. We have a country to call ours. We even have a government to criticize. There are countries where you don't have governments like we know it. We sit here today, we're talking about 2027 election.
Yes.
That's because you have a country. I mean, let's not call names. There are countries where you can't even plan, let alone execute an election.
Very true. And that is why I tell most of my friends who live abroad, who go for vacations, and then we talk, and I always say, now you see why Nigeria is a great country, because the leverage that you have in Nigeria that you cannot exhibit outside the shores of Nigeria. Yes, I know, like you mentioned, we might not be perfect. We have our issues when it comes to corruption, when it comes to inflation, when it comes to sometimes not all leaders are bad, but sometimes we have bad leadership in some areas. But all the same, Nigeria is home. A friend of mine said he traveled to Canada recently and he quickly came back. He said he's done with that. Then just come and concentrate on what he's doing. What is this? As he actually came back home and he says, I realized that I have a home, a country to come back to. Some people don't. Some will just be there, be frustrated and all of that. Some even die in the cause of finding greener pastures outside the shores of their country. But at least we have somewhere to run back to and make the best and most out of it. Nigeria is a place that you can become a millionaire overnight. If you have...
Legitimately so.
Legitimately so. Once you have the right connections, when you have right partnership, right individuals by your side, you can legitimately you can become a millionaire at night. That is how blessed we are as a country. For as much as we have our, we have our differences when it comes to individuals always saying negative things about Nigeria, but it takes you and I to make a difference. Nigeria is the only country that you and I have. It doesn't matter whether you're Hausa, Igbo, Yoruba, but remember that under that umbrella, we are Nigerians, and that's the most important. And how we promote our country, it goes a long way. And that's why some individuals some foreigners can come into Nigeria and take us for granted and do whatever you want. A friend of mine said she went to a buffet and the individual who was there gave more credence to foreigners than Nigerians who are elites in front of it, because he felt they are white, they are more prominent, they can help more, not knowing that the ones with you here are the ones that can actually show you that show of favor and help you. So I think we have to rebrand ourselves when it comes to understanding that Nigeria is the only country that we have, that there are some things we get away with here in Nigeria that in other countries you will never get away with it. So we should be thankful for that aspect, for as much as we're not perfect, but there are some things that just align and just makes us humans, like individuals dehumanizing our Nigerian brothers and sisters outside the shores of Nigeria.
Well, an amazing thing to say, no doubt about that. We'll be looking at insecurity quite profoundly on the program today, because again, we're seeing some sort of spike the last couple of weeks, especially following the strikes in Secretary of State by the United States government. What are the variables driving this spike, and what exactly should we expect of government at this point in terms of method, in terms of strategy? It's a big conversation on the show this morning, but after this break, the rest of it will come your way. Wake up with Global Morning, your daily guide to what's happening and making the rounds.
We delve into headlines, newspaper reviews, spot-on analysis, policies, current events, real talk, real issues that affect us all.
From the latest trends to the debates, every topic, every angle, Global Morning is where it all starts.
Global Morning,
For the latest issues,
always on point.
Watch Global Morning Monday to Friday at 7 a.m., Saturday and Sunday at 8 a.m. on Global Television.
All right, quite a number of things have happened this week. We saw how that the investigation and trial of former Attorney General and Minister of Justice Abubakar Malami SAN has been dragging, or if you like, has continued. But just yesterday, we understand that he had been granted bail now for some 500 million naira with sureties in like sum, as is always the case. Well, of course, naturally, he needs to meet those bail conditions. In the meantime, we understand that the court has now ordered interim forfeiture of his assets, about 57 of them. We were made to understand that those assets are linked to him and his sons. You know, when he just got apprehended, taken into custody, then it was he and his son. But now we're hearing it is he and his sons, 57 assets, and the FCC says all of these are worth well over 200 billion naira.
That's a lot, but for me, I'm just waiting for the investigations are still investigating and bringing.
In fact, trial has started.
Has started, and we're on course. It shows that no one is above the law, and it's very important that we nip this in the bud, because now a lot of individuals who are high up there when it comes to holding political office, it's not business as usual, where you get there's a case of corruption over you and it's swept under the carpet and we just move on after a week or after 4 days, no one remembers. But now this is something that is serious now. It's not business as usual, and I'm glad about it. I'm sure most Nigerians are very happy about it. Let's see how well this plays out, and let's see. Well, and I hear that all travel documents and all of that, shorties and all that, Maitama and Asokoro he has to get shorties in Maitama and Asokoro. They are actually procedures in all of this, and it should be done. It's very important.
Yes, it is. I've heard people say things like, well, you can't tell me Malami was a lone ranger, that he did this all by himself. I mean, aside his children, there must be a couple of other actors. The FCC must do due diligence, do a thorough job to bring those other individuals and entities to book and blah, blah, blah. That's one narrative. Another narrative is, look, there's nothing you're going to tell me this is a witch hunt, in fact, political witch hunt, because Malami moved from the APC to the ADC. The president of the APC is not comfortable with that position. They see him as a threat. But the question is, Did the anti-graft agency, EFCC, find evidence against him? Do they have evidence to support the allegations against him? You know, we can have that conversation all day. We saw in this same country, Tafa Balogun, blessed memory, former IGP, Inspector General of Police, under former President Olusegun Obasanjo. Of course, he went to jail. And people say, well, it's because Obasanjo didn't like him. He had an axe to grind with him. Yeah, it was a vendetta. He was being vindictive. But again, the question is, was there evidence? I'll give you an example, Jumai. So yesterday, your phone charger got missing. Meanwhile, you and I had an issue over who was going to, who knows, maybe get a piece of chicken. For example, maybe there was an office party.
I like that example.
It's an amazing one. And you have to be grateful that I settled that. But so we had that issue. Everybody in the office knew. You and I, we had a sort of fight over a piece of chicken. But then your phone charger gets missing later that day. And by the next day, you see, you find the phone in my charger or just beside my computer. And then it's now clear that the whole time I've been in custody of your charger. And then you raise an alarm and say, look, this is the charger I and you guys were helping me to look for yesterday. Incidentally, I found it in possession of Uyi. And somebody said, no, Juma, you can't say that. It's because you guys fought over chicken yesterday. That's why you are accusing this guy. Yes, we had a fight over chicken. We can't dispute that. But there's an evidence, very scientific and concrete, that this charger, whether you want to say he stole it or not is a different conversation. But we saw the charger with him. You see, I'm saying this to say that we must move past that level of always finding an excuse for things like this. Because we understand the EFCC, the last, say, 2 years in particular, is now redefining its method of operation. Modus operandi, as they call it. Beyond media trial and all of the razzmatazz around politically exposed people and things like that. So we must come to a point where citizens must realize that the fight against graft or corruption, as we call it, is not just an EFCC battle. Is for Nigerians. Yeah, it's for Nigerians and for the greater good of Nigerians. Very important. And I like that. And I like this, I think most agencies are evolving now. It's not business as usual. Everyone is trying to be better. Everyone is trying to do their jobs, trying to follow it in tandem. Very important. So for this is a step in the right direction. It shows that Nigerians are embracing change. It shows that Nigerians are now becoming more aware. Individuals in positions are now doing the needful when it comes to carrying out their responsibilities and obligations. Very important, because there is now what we see as accountability. And of course, you will give an account. Responsibility, they say, it's key. So with all of these now, it's a sense of hope that you cannot commit an offense or you are accused of an offense and you just swept under the rug and you say, bye, okay, he's done with that office, let's move on. No. You will come back, you will explain to us, not just to the law, but also Nigerians. We want answers because, hey, we are taxpayers. And now this is, not that we are real, then we'll say we are taxpayers. We didn't really understand. Now we are real, you and I are taxpayers. Real time. So you must give account. Accountability is key. We want to know. It's our money. Explain it to us. Tell us. So it's very important. So the accountability as in the eye of the law and in the eyes of Nigerians is very important. Yeah. All right. Let's now hold Ramsey Enoch Agbo accountable on the show this morning as he joins us for today's installment of Inspirational. To stay with us.
Hello and welcome to another beautiful day right here. I'm excited to come on your way once again. This is another time for us to talk, encourage ourselves, get ourselves inspired, talk heart to heart. My name is Ramsey Enoch. One of the things that a lot of people crave for is growth. Everyone wants to grow. Anywhere you are, one thing is common with every human being. Changing of level, moving from one level to the other. Today, I want to talk about growth. Now, let's look at something briefly before I actually go into telling you one or two things about growth. As a matter of fact, Strength and growth come only through what we call continuous effort and struggle. That is from Napoleon Hills. Growth is rarely comfortable. It comes with challenge, discomfort, struggle, whether it is personal development, whether it's emotional healing, or what we call building a skill. Growth demands what we call effort. Growth comes with what? It comes with a lot of challenges. Sometimes some people think growing is just something that happens. Let me tell you, when you're giving birth to, you grow. But that process, a lot of people don't take good cognizance of the fact that even growing as a child come with a lot of assignment, a lot of duties, a lot of commitment. So many things have been put into growth, natural growth as human beings on earth. You give birth to a child today, you expect the child to get to one level that the child will start crawling. From crawling, you expect the child to start standing up a little bit, but after standing up, you expect the child to walk. When the child starts walking a little bit, you say, well, this child needs to start running now. You should be able to hold the child's hand to at least walk some distance. That is the level of growth. All of this does not happen under comfort. All right? It comes with a lot of challenges. And that's why if you're a parent, you know what I'm talking about. Now, growth also comes with what we call discomfort and struggle. If not until you know all of this, you wouldn't know any other thing that you will bear in mind that they are part of the things that you need to jump over to grow, to get to the other level, to shift in life and destiny. So, I want you to know that if you really want to grow, one of the things that you really need to do is to ensure that you develop a shock observer, because times of challenges will come. But if you know these things before time, when the time for challenges come, you know exactly what to do. When that discomfort comes on your way, you know what to do, because what's on your mind is growth. You want to grow, and already you have this predisposition, you already have this mentality, you already have this mindset that growth comes with a lot of challenges, discomfort, and struggle. There is no man on earth, any successful man, that has grown from one level to the other in life. Ask them, find out. These are things that we can do practically. Why am I saying things? Because a lot of people think growing is just something that can happen overnight without putting in the work, without developing yourself, without getting ready to jump over the challenges, to overcome the discomfort and struggles that come with it. But you need to know that no matter the kind of growth that you are aspiring for, that you're looking forward to, it could be maybe personal development, it could be emotional development, it could be building up a skill. All of this demands some level of effort. Some people want to be rich overnight. Some people get into an assignment and they want that assignment to begin to yield result almost immediately. It doesn't happen like that. If not until you get to know all of these, you will make mistakes in life. Because you see someone who has put in the job, put in the effort, who has gone through the thick and thins of life, and the person grew to a particular level, and you sit there and you're jealous. No, that's not how it's been done. It doesn't come just by envy, but it comes with putting in the effort. When you know you have a goal, and that's the reason anywhere I go, I tell people, always write down what you want to achieve per time. Follow it. Everything you want to do in life, have the things that you need to do to achieve that very particular goal. There are factors you take into consideration. And for growth today, we're looking at the struggles that come with it. We're looking at the effort, whether it is personal development, whether it is a building of skill, whether it is to succeed in life. That's why, well, I just need to say this. Some inspirational speakers will come and tell you, hey, come on, you will grow in 10 days. You know, the reality of all this thing is that you should be ready. That if you want to grow from one level to the other, you need to put in particular effort. And don't think you will be doing the same thing all the time and expect a different result. That's what a lot of people know. A lot of us know that already. But then we need to tell ourselves the real fact, the truth. Because sometimes some people don't really tell you the truth. But then it's whosoever loves you that can look into your face and tell you, look into your eyes, eyebrow to eyebrow, and tell you the truth. That for you to grow in life, in that business that you are doing, for you to grow, you need to put in some effort. You should know that there are mountains to climb as you journey on the way. There are wilderness experience. So many things will happen. But determination and the quest for success and growth will help you surmount all of these. But then the number one thing that is very important is having this mindset. You need to know this. Whether it is personal development, emotional healing, or maybe building of skill, growth demands effort. You can't take that away. I just feel like repeating that over and over again so that it can sink into someone who is watching me and listening right now. Let me also let us know that the journey is often marked by what we call setbacks and frustration. Sometimes maybe the people in your cycle. Yeah, let me talk about this. You need to be careful. If you want to grow in life, you need to be careful the kind of cycle you have. Your cycle determines. Your cycle is a factor. Tell me who your friend is and I will be able to tell you where you are heading. Tell me, show me your company, your association, and I will be able to tell you your level of acceleration, because association brings assimilation, and this assimilation, if it is positive, it brings what we call acceleration, which is growth. But these trials are what refines you. It's what makes you strong. A lot of people want to be mentors today. How can you be a mentor when you don't have an experience that you can share with your mentee, telling them, these are the things that I went through, this was how I was able to surmount these things and grew to the level, the things that refined me. Very important. And that's the reason I keep telling people, number one, you need to be very careful about your association, the people you mix up with. Any man, anyone you want to call your mentor, that person must have had some form of experience in that area of endeavor, irrespective of what it is. But now, like a seed pushing through the soil, you know what, let me say this. It might be funny, but then it's the truth. If you ask the seed that you put into the ground that sprouts, germinates, grow, and bring out the fruit or become the food, the crop that you harvest and take home to eat today, if they tell you what they go through in the soil, the struggle to even come through the soil, to germinate, to grow into what you have today as seedlings, or probably as fruit or food, whatever you may call it, it's not it's not easy. It's not an easy one. Like, I'm just giving you an instance. You need to know that growth is just like a seed pushing through the soil, or muscle strengthening under strain. You know, when I see people and they say some things, it marvels me, because you need to know that every good thing doesn't come with just ease all the time. It's not all the time. I know, I believe in grace, I believe in favor, I believe in miracle. But then, you need to be readily available for this miracle to happen, because your faith even needs to be in place, and that is the work that you need to put in place before the miracle even happens. So I know miracles happen. I know there is grace that makes things happen easily, but then you need to be ready to put in the assignment, the work. Just like the seed struggle to be pushed out of the soil and grow to become whatever it is today. Struggle is not the enemy of growth, like some persons believe. Struggle is not the enemy of growth. If you must grow, know that it is the pathway to it. It is inevitable. You need to go through this process to grow to wherever you want to get to. Napoleon Hill's quote reminds us that there is no shortcut to true strength. Every hardship endured, every obstacle faced adds a layer to our character. Growth doesn't happen overnight. It requires a long-term commitment to learning and adapting. When we actually embrace struggle as part of the process, then we become more resilient, wiser, and ultimately more fulfilled. That's what it is. Now, I just want you to know that you have the capacity to grow. You have what it takes to grow. You can change from that level, move from that level, grow on that assignment. If it is personal development, if it is money you want to make, whatever you want to become in life, meeting up with your goals, you have what it takes to achieve it. And this is going to be the size of Heart to Heart today. I believe this word is for you. This is your word for the day. Take it, digest it, meditate on it, and work on it, and you will be shocked the kind of result you will get as far as growth is concerned. Many thanks for watching. Have a beautiful day.
All right, you're welcome back from those words of inspirational by Ramsey Enoch Agbo. And at about this time is the newspaper review segment. And we're going to start with the first paper of the day. It's the Punch newspaper. And above the nameplate of the Punch newspaper, it says, "How I Cut Nigeria Labor Union Links with KGB, CIA," and that's Obasanjo. And that you will find on page 19. Then next it says, "Why Abure LP fraction is not recognized." And that's from INEC, and that you will read is on page 7. Moving on to page 38, it says, "US slams $15,000 via bond on Nigerians and others." And of course, at the side of the nameplate of the Punch newspaper, it says, "Court orders forfeiture of 57 properties linked to Malami and Sons." And that read you will find on page 39. Now, the star story on the Punch newspaper says, "Tax law, 5 trillion naira VAT windfall for states as new formula begins." And the writer reads, "New tax law tilts VAT revenue towards state, local governments as FG share dropped to 922 billion naira." Now below all of that, it says Togo, Niger, Benin, Nigeria, 25 billion naira for electricity. And that's from NEC, and that read you will find on page 29. Makinde fumes as bandits kill 5 Oyo forest guards. Now I have my observations, or will I say opinions concerning these forest guards, which is on page 39. But the last read on the Punch newspaper says 2027, obedience back Obi as Dirty Eyes LP ticket. And that read is on page 38. Now, over to the forest guards now. Well, for as much as we know that the military are involved in the training, DSS was well, they were out, the police and all of that. But really, do they really know how to handle guns? Are they well equipped psychologically, physically? It's not all about, for me, because we didn't hear about these forest guards up until there was an intervention by the United States where they realized that our forests, that's when some of our politicians, or will I say governors, they realized that our forests are really porous, we need guards. Some, as much as there was mass employment when it comes to these forest guards. You see, that my problem was this, it was too fast. You have to go through rigorous training. And that is why the military, when it comes to Army, Air Force, and Navy, they're different when it comes to other sister organizations like the police, Civil Defense Corps, because they go through rigorous training when it comes to trying to shoot a rifle, when it comes to advancement, when it comes to all of these things encompassed. So for me, it's going to be really, really sad if these forest guards are losing their lives at the detriment of trying to nip or trying to cover, or I don't know what it is, but I hope they went through rigorous training to learn the ropes of protecting lives and properties, because these are civilians who are into this particular system of, forest guards. It's a subtle way of, trying to keep a particular, but we're dealing with bandits here. We're dealing with terrorists here, and it's a very serious issue. So I hope, I'm just saying, this is just Jumai Manson saying it, I hope they went through rigorous training. It's very important they understand the ropes of how to shoot a gun, and all of that is very important. It's just me just saying it.
Yes,
I'm just being empathetic.
That part where you say, hope they were trained on how to shoot a gun, I like it. All right, but here's the thing, sad as it sounds, but it is what it is now. The idea or the birthing of these forest guards, it is quite frankly a child of necessity. All right, it's not something that government had thought of. It has now happened. It has now become a reality because there is a desperate need for it. We realize that it is no longer a thing of leaving it for the police, leave it to the NSCDC. Of course, the NSCDC is already battling pipeline insecurity and all of that. It's not more something you say, leave it to the armed forces alone, or that the army. Exactly. So what do? It is not a matter of, let's rethink this process. Of course, some persons will tell you flat out that this is some sort of reactionary measure.
Exactly.
For whatever it is, like you asked, now that we're hearing that the DSS is training them or has trained them, the
now
police is doing them. 5
individuals have lost their lives.
Yes,
it's a big deal.
But the question is, how robust is the training plan vis-a-vis the mandates they are going to be saddled or already been saddled with?
Exactly.
We must look at that because outcome is important. You must have your eye on the ball. It's like sending a child to school. You don't just send a child to school and say, just go and bring us a degree. There must be an action. There must be an outcome you're looking out for. Do you want the child to eventually leave school, get to acquire some work experience, end up in the financial sector, in broadcasting like we do, or in health? What exactly? There must be a goal ultimately. My former classmates' elder brother had a friend who once said to them, look, when you're chasing a girl and you're studying physics, you're in your, say, second year, don't just tell the girl, I'm a physics student, I'm a physics undergraduate. Let the girl know that you're studying to become an aviation expert. For example, if that's your ultimate goal, let her see the big picture. You're not lying to her. That's what you're driving towards.
Very true.
But this is where you are right now. So for us, we must always have our eye on the long-term thinking. It has always been a problem. Yes, and that's why we get to the middle when after they realize that, So we must do the due diligence. The problem most times, even in the private sector, is that most of us run away from the hard work. We saw an embarrassing situation recently where the president had already appointed some people to resume at the NTA, the Nigerian Television Authority, even at the level of the Director General, and whose director and the other guys who were supposed to be members of the leadership team, we also had our pandouts. Only to realize that the people they had been appointed to replace had not served out their terms.
True.
At least one of them still had more than a year to go. So the question is, how did the president or the federal government arrive at the conclusion that we needed to replace these people? And we understand that this is a structured environment.
Very
It's not
structured.
a place where you come to and you are making decisions based on
exactly.
impulse
Or
and
sentiment.
your state of mind. Exactly.
No.
So who advised the president? What data, what information, what report, what memo did the president have in front of him to have made that decision? Now the question is, how many more such decisions, or even worse, have we made in other critical areas? But today we're focusing on forest guards.
Yes, exactly. So we need to at the same point we need to get our priorities right and straight. And it's not because we're under, will I say, scrutiny, because
Right.
the international bodies are, all eyes is on
They are on your
Nigeria
neck.
now. They are on our neck. So you have to implement this at the detriment of these individuals' lives. Let's not forget, these individuals are fathers. They are people's sons, and it's very important that we try, for as much as we do not want to lose lives, let's not put individuals into the mouth of the lion for their lives to be lost. It's just unfortunate that this is where we are. Sometimes I don't know what, I hate eye service and I hate lip service at the same time. So for as much as we want to give an impression to the foreign bodies, for them to understand that, okay, we are trying as much as possible to curb this menace of insecurity, not at the detriment of people's lives. So at the same time, we should take it one step at a time. We should be sure that these forest guards are well equipped and they understand what this job is all about. It's a very dangerous one, because we are dealing with terrorists here who are very sophisticated when it comes to weaponry.
Hardened criminals.
These are hardened criminals. These are individuals who are into drugs and substance abuse, who unalive individuals without looking back, without any remorse, without any apologies. So we have to be very, very sure that these forest guards are up on their game when it comes to this issue of curbing insecurity in the forest. So please, that's just me saying.
All right.
So next paper, please, Mr. Reed.
Let's take a look now at Business Day newspaper for you. Well, it's called Business Day for a reason.
Yes, it is.
The star headline says, consumers face higher prices as biggest shipper raises import fees. Then one rider is associated with the headline, importers threaten to ditch shipping giant. Manufacturers see sector rebound as reforms take shape. Trump's Venezuela oil grab to shrink Nigeria's $2.9 billion U.S. markets. Scrambles for alternative markets heighten, naturally so, because the market is going to be not just wet but flooded with products, and that will create a glut which results in a very significant drop in the price of oil in the international market. And for those of us back at home, for a country that relies largely on oil to fund budgets, it means the benchmark will suffer a very serious upset. Investor confidence returns to African startups on improved models as 69 firms secure $10 million rounds in 2025, up 70% from 2024. Please read up details of these headlines from the Business Day newspaper today as we move on to the Daily Trust for you.
All right, now the Daily Trust newspaper, and it says below the nameplate, it says why Obi may not get ADC presidential ticket, and that's from Dati Baba Ahmed, and we can find that read on page 10. Am I surprised? No, and I do hope there are no friction in the ADC and we're not hearing about it, because article is out there, but he's saying that no other ticket than the presidential ticket. Peter Obi is saying the same thing a lot. So
there's article not being fair. He says nobody is stepping down. In other words, everybody interested in the presidential ticket of the ADC should go to the field.
Okay.
I thought we said we want a level playing field, and the former vice president says that field is ready, but let's jump right on it.
Let's jump right on it. Okay, let's just see how well this plays out, because I know, but what we know, what politics is all about is the party that presents one presidential candidate and a running mate. So let's just see if everyone is going into the field,
Right.
because everyone has their own supporters.
Sure.
You know who you're going to vote for. Everyone knows. But at the same time, okay, let's see. Let's see.
Of course.
And next to that, it says, days after nurse's murder, lawyer killed in Abuja. What is going on? And you will find that read on page 16 of the Daily Trust. And here on page 5, it says, Dangote withdraws petition against ex-NMMPRA boss from ICPC. Okay. I think they've had maybe an agreement or for an acceptance, a roundtable discussion with a mediator, and I'm sure that's why all charges have been dropped. All right, now the star story on the Daily Trust reads, Court orders ex-AGF Malami's 57 assets forfeiture. And you can find that read on page 3 and 4 of the Daily Trust. Now, below that, it says NLC to FG, suspend tax law implementation now. And that's from the NLC there to the FG. And here it says APC pushes back against influence politics, warn Wike governors. And that's on page 11 there. And on page 6, it says 5 killed as bandits attack Oyo Park. Now, this is a very sad read. So, and then the last headline says 38 die in electricity-related incidents in 3 months. And that is on page 20. And if you're wondering where this stories making rounds, you have to go and get yourself a copy of the Daily Trust newspaper to be well abreast. And next is New Telegraph. Over to you now, Uyi.
All right, let's look at the headline first off, or to 2 headlines above the name masts of it. The kicker says, budget states intensify IGR drive to fund 30.728 trillion naira appropriation. PwC forecasts 4.3 GDP growth for Nigeria in 2026. And then top left corner, bandits attack Odoyo National Park, kill 5. This very sad story broke yesterday. Has a rider with it, again complemented with a picture of Governor for your state, Sheyi Makinde. 2027, I won't dump Labour Party, says Dati Baba Ahmed. His presidency. He has formally declared yesterday. Now, ICPC, we are going ahead with Dangote petition probe despite withdrawal notice, of course. No going back now.
No going back. You started it. You have to finish it.
FCT area council poll. Desperation can't win you recognition, INEC tells Abure. And then the big one, NLC slams new tax laws, queries FG borrowings. What's the rider? Don't agonize over injustice, organize to fight it, Oshomole tells Labour. Obasanjo reviews how Labour reforms ended foreign grip on unions. Read all those details on pages 3 and 4 of the New Telegraph today. On the right corner of it, Indigo will correct past mistakes in 2027, Deputy Speaker. You emboldened Wike's undemocratic actions, PDP tells APC on page 3. Suspend strikes, MDs beg Johesu NARD. The rider tells us 2025 review, a health sector in Chumel over strikes, Jakba leadership gaps. All of those details you would find on pages 2 and 14. Alleged 9 billion naira fraud. Court grants Malami's son, wife 1.5 billion naira bail. Others interim forfeiture of properties worth 213 billion naira. You can find those details on pages 4 and 6. And lastly, my favorite part, on the very foot of it, tattoos may weaken immune responses study. Tattoos may weaken immune responses study. Get educated on page 30 of the New Telegraph today, as well as read up other headlines. I mean, there are details, and stay ahead of the news as we move up to the Daily Sun newspaper now.
All right. And the Daily Sun newspaper, beside the nameplate, it says Obi Atiku others, ADC chieftains, disgruntled politicians, and that's from Dati Baba Ahmed. And that read you will find on page 6. Now, below that, it says that the Star Story reads, NLC cries out over new tax policy. And that's just one rider there. And it says implementation will worsen poverty, alleged workers, masses never made impute. And that's on page 6. Now below that, it says FCCPC goes hard on loan platforms and subject 521 digital lenders to new regulation. And that's on page 2. NYSC threatens to sanction schools mobilizing fake prospective core members. And that's a step in the right direction. You know, I read there was this core member that served for almost 5 years. You heard about that because he says there are no jobs, but he was arrested. And he was going to for his PPA, and he was doing the needful when it comes to all of that.
A bread in hand.
A bread in God. Oh my goodness. And here on page 4 it says court orders interim forfeiture 57 property belonging to Malami. And it says ex-AGF son, wife secure 1.5 billion naira bail. On page 28, here it says shelf plan strike. CMD's chief medical directors beg resident doctors. Now the writer says FG structural policy, and it will do the right thing. Let's just do the needful. And that's all on the Daily Sun. Next we have the Nation newspaper.
All right, sir. Well, thank you. To my top right corner with a picture of Aliko Dangote there, who is now said to have withdrawn petition before ICPC against Ahmed. Word for word, it reads, Aliko Dangote withdraws petition before ICPC against Ahmed. That's the immediate past chief executive of the NMDPRA. US $15,000 visa bond requirement takes off January 21. That's in less than 2 weeks. Obi's ex-running mate slams ADC members as disgruntled. Court orders interim forfeiture of 57 properties linked to Malami. Ex-IGF gets 14 days to prove they are lawfully acquired. Former minister orders get bail. Don't attempt to approach me for any help. Any attempt to try this will be vehemently resisted. Justice Winte is the one that is credited to. PwC projects 4.3% GDP growth for Nigeria's economy this year. Tax laws effect on workers, Oshomole, Ajeru, differ. Obasanjo, Kuka, others honor first NLC president, Sumonu at 85. Oil prices fall on Venezuela crisis. Experts disagree on how it will affect budgets. Right, and then lastly, says 2027, Rainbow Coalition will fill all elective positions in Rivers, says Wike on page 6. We encourage you to read up all of these details when you pick up a copy of the Nation newspaper today. And let's move on to the next one.
All right, now the next point of call is First Daily. And beside the name, below that, it says, First Bank crosses 500 billion naira capital threshold ahead of CBN deadline. And the Star Story reads, 2027 battle opens. Obi's ex-running mate, Dati Baba Ahmed, declares presidential ambition. And below that it says, PDP moves to reconcile Obi, Atiku as 2027 circulations deepen. And below that it says, police mass child trafficking ring in Anambra, rescue 33 girls. And Peter Obi slams NNPC debt write-off, warns of looming fiscal collapse. And below that, it says OAU THC, Obafemi Awolowo University Teaching Hospital, resident doctors to join nationwide strike over salary arrears. Court grants 500 million naira bill to Malami, wife, son in 8.7 billion naira fraud case. On the foreign news now, on First Daily, it reads, Burkina Faso foils assassination plot against military leader Touare. And at the foot of the First Daily paper, it says, drug allegations. Regina Daniels to sue Ned Nwoko. All right, we'll see. Okay, listen, you don't interfere in the matters of husband and wife. So
Stay clear.
So you stay clear. So no comment as far as I'm concerned when it comes to that. And next is this day newspaper. Over to you now, Uli.
All right, let's go wrap it up on our next paper. Top of it says with the rider, Wike Fubara is an ungrateful child, declares Rainbow Coalition will produce all elective positions. I know Ajima is laughing, but I will resist the temptation to join her in that laugh.
I didn't say anything.
Of course. Court orders interim forfeiture of 57 properties linked to Malami sons on page 25. U.S. seizes Russian-flagged tanker, second Venezuela-linked ship. U.S. demands visa bans from Nigerians, nationals of 37 other countries, mandates entry, exit through designated airports. So you can just choose your own airports. Chief of Staff tours terror-ravaged Niger as bandits attack Old National Park in Oyo. That is quite loaded with some riders there as well. Well, those are your headlines from this day today. We hope you find out details and then stay guided on the news. Remember that all of the headlines we bring to you here from across newspapers are just as exactly as published by the respective publishers. Global Television does not in any way contribute to them. Let's take a break now. Coming up next, a social buzz with Ogochukwu Mobuno. Wake up with Global Morning, your daily guide to what's happening and making the rounds.
We delve into headlines, newspaper reviews, spot-on analysis, policies, current events, real talk, real issues that affect us all.
From the latest trends to the debates, every topic, every angle, Global Morning is where it all starts.
Global Morning,
For the latest issues,
always on point.
Watch Global Morning Monday to Friday at 7 a.m., Saturday and Sunday at 8 a.m. on Global Television.
With Global Morning, your daily guide to what's happening and making the rounds.
we delve into headlines, newspaper reviews, spot-on analysis, policies, current events, real talk, real issues that affect us all.
From the latest trends to the debates, every topic, every angle, Global Morning is where it all starts.
Global Morning,
For the latest issues,
always on point.
Watch Global Morning Monday to Friday at 7 a.m., Saturday and Sunday at 8 a.m. on Global.
Good morning and welcome to Social Buzz here on Global Morning. I am Ogochukwu Mobuno. It's a beautiful day to look at what's buzzing on social media. Like I always say, it is always buzzing. There's something always going on social media. And today we're going to be looking at a Ghanaian police officer who has gone viral after he was captured on camera showing compassion to a driver who claimed he was stranded due to lack of fuel and money. In the video, which was shared on X by Ghana Web on Monday, the driver, identified as Francis, was seen packed inside in a car when the officer approached him to find out what was wrong. Okay, Francis explained that his car had run out of fuel and that he had no money to buy more at the nearest filling station. After checking the vehicle document and confirming everything was in order, the police officer surprised many by transferring money to the driver to help him continue his journey. When the driver Francis asked the officer, "Why did you choose to give me money?" the officer replied simply, "You said you were short of fuel, so I had to support you." The driver then brought out a bundle of cash and handed it over to the officer, saying, "God bless you," leaving the policeman visibly shocked. Well, we have seen, I would like to just go through that, that video shortly and, see for ourselves how people help people on the street. And this one is happening in Ghana. Let's take a look at the video. Well, we've seen that very short clip, and the heartwarming encounter has since sparked conversations on social media about kindness, integrity, and the human side of the law. A lot of persons have been talking about this, but then the bad part is comparing this to the Nigerian police, which I don't think is right. Explaining his reasons, Francis said, "You make me feel like I have a helper. God bless you," drawing smiles and applause from viewers online. Okay, now the moment of truth, which is where social media users had comment on this particular post. And I must tell you that some of the comment, like I said earlier, is a bit of comparison, but I like someone's comment in this comment. So let's take a look. The first comment is from Ola Olubenga. And this person says, "This Ghanaian police officer deserves to be promoted for this show of professionalism and kindness." That is good. And the second comment is coming from Indiana Jones. And this person says, "We also have them in our MPF, which is the Nigerian Police Force, but they are rare." The third, which is the last comment, is coming from Top Dark Wine. And Top Dark Wine says, "Only Nigerian army can do this, but you see those ones where they wear black uniform?" That's where it ends his comment. Well, the good part is, I think in every nonsense, like they say, there's always sense. And when you see a pack of bad people, there's always one person who beg to differ at the end of the day. So let's not just say all Nigerian police officers are bad. No, we've all been helped one way or the other by Nigerian police officers, and yes, you'll be shocked and scared because they've been known for things that are not cool sometimes. But yeah, we still have good ones, and we still have people that can help. The bottom line is, try to help people. You do not know what exactly they hold for you, or what the world holds for you. Well, that's all we have today here on Social Buzz here on Global Morning. We wish we had more time, but do not worry. You can join us tomorrow again by 11:30, and also you can join during the Global Morning. Please do not forget to share your thoughts on our social media platform using our Global TV NG on YouTube. I remain Ogoch Kumobno. Please stay with us as Global Morning continues. Bye for now.
Wake up with Global Morning, your daily guide to what's happening and making the rounds.
We delve into headlines, newspaper reviews, spot-on analysis, policies, current events, real talk, real issues that affect us all.
From the latest trends to the debates, every topic, every angle, Global Morning is where it all starts.
Global Morning,
For the latest issues,
always on point.
Watch Global Morning Monday to Friday at 7 a.m., Saturday and Sunday at 8 a.m. on Global Television.
Wake up with Global Morning, your daily guide to what's happening and making the rounds.
We delve into headlines, newspaper reviews, spot-on analysis, policies, current events, real talk, real issues that affect us all.
From the latest trends to the debates, every topic, every angle, Global Morning is where it all starts.
Global Morning,
For the latest issues,
always on point.
Watch Global Morning Monday to Friday at 7 a.m., Saturday and Sunday at 8 a.m. on Global Television.
With Global Morning, your daily guide to what's happening and making the rounds.
we delve into headlines, newspaper reviews, spot-on analysis, policies, current events, real talk, real issues that affect us all.
From the latest trends to the debates, every topic, every angle, Global Morning is where it all starts.
Global Morning,
For the latest issues,
always on point.
Watch Global Morning Monday to Friday at 7 a.m., Saturday and Sunday at 8 a.m. on Global Television.
Quite an interesting story there. Ogochukwu Mobuno, thank you. Social Boss, obviously, from what you have shown today in particular, it's not just about the stories that are trend or are trending on the internet. It's also about those that inspire us, those that flip the script, so to say. This was more like not just an eye-opener, but a shocker of some sorts. We must continue to see policemen who show example, and until we get to that point, whether it's in Ghana, in Nigeria, or anywhere else in the world, where you find a substantial measure of quote-unquote friendship between the civilian population and men in uniform, it's going to be extremely difficult, maybe even impossible, practically so, to fight insecurity, because the police say we are your friends, and then you say no, we are not friends, and it means there's already some sort of friction. But if we have a situation where we continue to build confidence in our police system, then it means we are heading somewhere, and we hope that happens real soon. This morning, like we hinted at the top of the program, we'll be focusing on issues around insecurity in Nigeria. But then there is this, if you like, the new curve that we are seeing in the trajectory now, which apparently borders on the spike we're seeing in terms of attacks, whether it's in Niger State or somewhere up north, especially the northwestern part of the country. We've also seen some of these attacks elsewhere up, if you look at the northeastern part of Nigeria as well. But the question is, why are we not seeing, as we would have expected following the U.S. strikes, some sort of appreciable drop in these attacks? Look at the one in Oyo State, the old Oyo National Park yesterday. Look at how 5 lives were snuffed out by the so-called unknown gunmen, or if you like, gunmen. At some point they are unknown, but the question is, can we not know them? All right, they may not be known as at the time of the attacks, but can we not know them? It's very important we do that. This morning we're reading in the news that Seyi Makinde, the state governor, is, it's frowning on these attacks. All right, he finds it repulsive.
Of course.
Is there any right-thinking, meaningful Nigerian or human being on earth who would not find this sort of development repulsive?
It is very repulsive, like you mentioned, despite the fact with the intervention from the United States coming into Nigeria, that strike that happened in Sokoto, you would assume in your mind that these bandits will go into their enclaves, hide, or stop these various attacks. But it's on the rampage now. If it's not in Ogun State, if it's not in Ogun State, you hear in Katsina, you hear in so many places in the country, and it's a cause for worry to see that these bandits are not standing down at all. They are. It is like it's a dare situation. I dare you, come get us. We are not going to stop. I think that's the message they're trying to pass. But we need to find a way. This is a menace in our society, and to think that these bandits will be afraid, it shows that they do not have. They do not have a single inch of what fear or what life is all about. They do not care. So whatever you do, however you do it, they are not going to stand down. But hopefully that's not the case. It's just me saying it now. But at the same time, it is a cause for worry, and it's very, very irritating and annoying at the same time.
You know, Juma, several years ago, you and I may not have been talking here on Global Morning, but at least we followed the insecurity issue in Nigeria.
Oh, yes.
We were told, look, this is all about ideology. Boko Haram is anti-book, anti-Western knowledge, Western this, Western that. Even though we saw a lot of hypocrisy in it, because how do you say you are against Western education, all right? But at the end of the day, we see you taking advantage of leveraging things that have been birthed through Western education. It
Very
doesn't even
true.
make sense. You use the
Social
social media,
media,
you use devices,
technology, exactly,
and all kinds of tech.
weaponry. Oh,
so
yes.
come on. So that was a no-brainer. But today, it is apparently a phenomenon that has stretched further than ideology. It's now something that is commercial in nature. Because how do you kidnap two persons, like we talked about in the case of Edo States? I mean, you are asking for 100 million. Meanwhile, we are hearing that one has been killed. All right, so you have one left. And his wife is now all over social media, all over the place, asking for prayers, asking for financial support. The woman is trying to crowdsource to secure the release of her dear husband. And you're wondering, if this is about ideology, come on, what are we dealing with? Up north, you go into a school, you pick up young girls in the dead of the night,
Or young boys.
and then you're asking for 500 million. And then you say it's ideology. I don't get it. Is it ideology that's on the shelf with a price tag on it? What exactly are we dealing with? Again, that highlights the fact that we're now looking at a phenomenon that has a lot of commercial interest in it, in such a way that these monies are going to certain places. Who is tracking this money? Who is following this money as ransoms are being paid? Last year, we saw numbers in billions of what had been paid in 2025 by way of ransom. If we do not check this now, or if we do not intercept it one way or another, who knows what the number will be at the end of 2026?
Very true.
Otherwise, what we are going to find at the end of the day is normalizing something that ordinarily is evil. All right, something that is criminal. You now realize that it becomes a case of, well, even if it costs us money, at least our loved one has been released unharmed, unhurt, and things like that. Yes, we can celebrate that.
It's very detrimental,
but
though.
yes, can you sustain that evil cycle?
No, we cannot. That's the thing, we cannot. That's an evil cycle. It cannot be sustained. Doesn't matter how far you get the means of payment. It cannot. How many people? How now in the Nigeria that we're in, we're just trying to balance it, or we're trying to get our feet. How many people can you source for funds from?
Right.
How many? Look at some will say SMEs now. There is so much speculation that people just believe in all of these speculations when it comes to taxing and all of that. People that are not well informed. That is, I don't want to mention any names. I know she might be looking at it. What does Jumai want to say? But I'll just leave that. But the truth is, it's not sustainable, and that's the truth.
Right.
But we should find a way to curb this. But my fear now is, I hope Nigeria is not tilting towards other countries that they have been interventions like this, and there was no headway when it comes to fighting terrorism, insecurity, and all of that encompassed. Let's look at Iran, for instance. Let's look at Afghanistan. I hope we're not tilting towards that direction, because with the airstrike, we assume in our minds that if we're getting close to insecurity being a thing of the past in Nigeria, it has lingered for a long time, really, it has. But at the same time, let's just in our minds, I'm sure these terrorists don't want to show cowardice, or they don't want to just stand down immediately.
Right.
They will. But at the detriment of what? People's lives. It's just unfortunate that this is what it is.
Right.
But at the same time, I'm sure there will be headway. Well, there is headway so far. But it's just unfortunate that people just have to be unalive in the process. That's the sad part that I'm not happy with.
Right. Well, again, I doubt if there's anything we have not seen in terms of government rejigging. It's a method, it's an approach. We're seeing change of guard in terms of service chiefs, time and again. We've seen all of that.
We have.
We're seeing talks about collaboration with whether it is US or somewhere from Europe. We're seing all of that.
Appointment of a new defense minister.
Yes. So
They're trying their best.
We're saying Tucano jets being said to have been paid for or ordered, whether they came or not, whether they were whether they were deployed or not. But again, we must see transparency, we must see accountability in the military.
Very important.
In defense. Because at the end of the day, no matter what you do, the buck stops in front of the defense chiefs and all of those who work for them. Nigerians will hold them accountable. Because at the end of the day, if you have a former chief of army staff who comes out and he tells Nigerians that it will take 20 years to win Boko Haram, again, like I've always asked, by what data, by what statistics? I mean, you're not talking talking to a bunch of bush heads. These are people who can think independently.
Of
So
course.
if you have a former chief of army staff in the person of retired General Tukur Buratai saying that, look, it will take 20 years, and you're saying this to federal lawmakers. I'm sitting down here, my head is spinning, I'm scratching my head, I'm asking myself, was it not possible, one of those lawmakers, to ask him, what is the data we're looking at?
Exactly.
What are the metrics? I'll give an example, Juma. It's like saying, for instance, that starting from second quarter of 2026, and that is starting from first week of April this year, we are going to extend Global Morning to 4 hours. I think I expect that you ask me, how did we reach that decision?
Exactly.
What has made it necessary? It's normal. I mean, and you deserve to know. So, for me as a Nigerian and other Nigerians, the curiosity is, how did we get there? That is a conversation we ought to have already had, but it's not too late still. And I'm also sure that the federal government can enlist the help, use the experiences of those who have left service to say, look, I mean, while you were here, while you were in active service, what are some things you learned firsthand that you think can still be useful today? Because the fight is evolving. There are people who started this war against Boko Haram and other criminal elements. What were some things they observed that they think, quite frankly, should be done differently? Because what we find is that until you have left service, I mean, for those in the defense space, there are things you can't talk about. However, the good news is when you leave service, you are now at liberty to speak about some of those things.
Sure.
These are things you can have a meeting with the president about. You can have a meeting with the defense minister about, to say, look, we are sharing our own experiences. But the point I'm making is, you can't use the mentality that created the problem to solve the same problem. Okay, enough said. All right, so let's take a quick break, everyone. When we return, we'll dig further into this conversation. Please don't go away. Wake up with Global Morning, your daily guide to what's happening and making the rounds.
We delve into headlines, newspaper reviews, spot-on analysis, policies, current events, real talk, real issues that affect us all.
From the latest trends to the debates, every topic, every angle, Global Morning is where it all starts.
Global Morning,
For the latest issues,
always on point.
Watch Global Morning Monday to Friday at 7 a.m., Saturday and Sunday at 8 a.m. on Global Television.
with Global Morning, your daily guide to what's happening and making the rounds.
We delve into headlines, newspaper reviews, spot-on analysis, policies, current events, real talk, real issues that affect us all.
From the latest trends to the debates, every topic, every angle, Global Morning is where it all starts.
Global Morning,
For the latest issues,
always on point.
Watch Global Morning Monday to Friday at 7 a.m., Saturday and Sunday at 8 a.m. on Global Television.
All right, time to take a closer look at the challenge of insecurity, especially what we're seeing following the U.S. strikes on our soil in Sokoto State, northwest of Nigeria. Those strikes, some people had said or even believed, would mark a turning point towards bringing insecurity in this country, particularly in the northern region, to an end, but that hasn't been the case. Ironically, what we're seeing now is a spike in attacks. Some of them they say sporadic, others otherwise, but the impact has been very clear. There are those who theorize that it is possible. Global Morning, your daily guide to what's happening and making the rounds.
We delve into headlines, newspaper reviews, spot-on analysis, policies, current events, real talk, real issues that affect us all.
From the latest trends to the debates, every topic, every angle, Global Morning is where it all starts.
Global Morning,
For the latest issues,
always on point.
Watch Global Morning Monday to Friday at 7 a.m., Saturday and Sunday at 8 a.m. on Global Television.
We sincerely apologize for that disruption just a while ago. It was occasioned by a technical issue which has now been resolved. As always, we appreciate your patience and understanding. So we turn our attention to the spike in attacks, particularly in our dear northern Nigeria. I mean, ironically, one would have thought having had those strikes from the US on Sokoto just on Christmas Day, by now would have been seeing some sort of tangible drop in the number of attacks, if any at all. Incidentally, that hasn't been the case. It makes you wonder what exactly are now the variables driving up the numbers regarding the attacks that we're seeing, and what can now be done in terms of method and approach of security agencies to deal with all of this. Plus, we understand even from Ambassador Yusuf Chuga, Minister of Foreign Affairs, that there will likely be more strikes from the U.S. against these terror cells. Where exactly are we in this conversation? Joining us now to help find sense as well as context and perspectives is Emmanuel Ozemena, is a public policy analyst. Emmanuel, thank you for coming on the program.
Yeah, good morning.
Good morning. You are most welcome.
Thank you.
Well done.
Yeah, thank you.
So let's put this on the road real quick, right? You and I had talked about the U.S. strikes here the other time. Maybe there's still time, but from what we heard as after that strike, one would have thought by now there would be some, if you like, collaterally or follow-up strikes in that regard, but we've not seen that just yet. Sadly, what we are seeing repeatedly is a bunch of attacks in the north, Niger State, Borno State, and all of that. What's the message?
I think if you reflect deeply on the nature of terrorism, you will realize that it's been with us in the last, since 2008, 2009, that's when the terror cells across the country started, manifesting through various, various attacks on communities, in towns and villages, But again, I recall reading a paper, I think a United States Senate or United States Congress hearing in 2000, it held in 2000, I think 2005, thereabouts, on security situation, on the emerging security risk in the Gulf of Guinea. One of the presentation at that conference talked about a possible emergence of terror groups from the Sahel. Sahel, you're talking about the middle of West Africa, between West Africa and North Africa. Mali, Niger, Burkina Faso, Chad and all that, within that region. So, because from there you are moving over to North Africa, from North Africa, Morocco, Algeria, you are now getting across over there to Europe. So Libya, they are all within that stretch. So what has happened is that when the Arab Spring happened, Libya fell and all that. So, and by 2012, if you recall, there's this Tuareg insurgency in Mali.
Right.
And if you watch, you are talking about, when Donald Trump was talking, he spoke about ISIS. He was talking about ISIS in West Africa. And terror groups, like I had said repeatedly, every one of us know, mutate from time to time. So that mutation could be as a result of internal friction, or it could be somebody else wants to become the leader of a group, or it could also be part of their strategy. So that if you think you're studying a particular group, say La Caroa, for instance, and then they will now mutate into another group. And so that mutation is actually part of their strategy. And that presenter spoke explicitly on what Nigeria should do, what Niger should do, countries around on the Sahel should do. But again, I recall the presenter saying, look, at this point in time, he thinks there are no capacity to manage an emerging security challenge within the Sahel that will impact on the countries on the Sahel. Incidentally, my worry was, how come nobody within the system saw, or say at the Nigerian embassy in Washington, because that meeting held at the Congress, U.S. Congress, saw those papers and began to think. That was back in 2003, 2005. So the question to ask is that in managing a country's security, one of the things you need to do is, the first thing that strikes you is, what do my neighbors do?
Right.
Because there's this interconnectedness of countries, of communities, of families, of people. Most people were thinking or had thought, the moment the US strike happens, then we'll have some sort of a return of peace.
Right.
But I wasn't expecting that, because I knew there would be some sort of reaction or targeting of, you could say, vulnerable areas by the terror groups. It's natural. There's a book written by Mr. John Hogan. It's called The Psychology of Terrorism. So if you read that book, these things they have structure, they have subsets, they have all kinds of, it looks like a whole lot of well-structured activity, movement, or groups. So in managing terrorism, one of the things you need to do, there's an intellectual part of trying to understudy the drivers of terrorism, the drivers, the causes and effect. Because in policy making or in managing societies, something causes something, there's an effect, there's an impact, and a whole lot of things around it. So I wasn't expecting them or the terror groups to pipe down. So, and also, there's been conversations in the public place, even by security experts, that there might be some possible shift, geographical shift, movement. Now, everybody was expecting US to go attack Sambisa Forest. But I'm thinking, in my analysis, the people who manage the security system within the US intelligence agency and their partners in Nigeria would have thought, look, if they're expecting a possible attack from the America, everybody would think, even the terrorists themselves would think it will happen in around the Northeast, which is the epicenter, in quotes, of terrorism. But we have realized that Northeast may not have been the epicenter. It could be where they hit, because they think the area is vulnerable, having gone through a lot of challenges in the last 15 years plus. So the attention will be there. So they now decided to move to this on the verge of the Sahel. Real verge of the Sahel. You're talking about Kebbi, Sokoto. You're talking about Jigawa. You're talking about Yobe. Those that axis. So the U.S. intelligence system knew, look, this is where they may likely be. And holidays time is usually low-key times. And if you take a detailed study of attacks on communities, they happen during the holidays. Either an Eid festival, a Christmas, Easter, those. Because they know those times people are relaxed, people let down their guards. Because people are in a celebrative mood. Even the October 7 attack in the US happened on a festival, same chart.
That's what in Israel you mean?
In Israel. I mean, people were in a celebrative mood and the attack happened. So Hamas on their part understood that. So I think what we might need to do, I wasn't expecting the attacks by the terror group to abet. And I'm not sure anybody within the security system was expecting it to abet too. But again, citizens have their expectations, which is all right. They are not experts. But I think, like the Minister of Foreign Affairs, Ambassador Yusuf Stuga said, the attack will continue, which is a general statement. That's
on the US side.
No, you have quoted Ambassador Yusuf Stuga. I'm not expecting it intervention by the US or the joint US-Nigeria security engagement to just end in Sokoto. But again, they know when to do. The best to do is to attack when the person on the other side is not expecting. And that's also what I think the terror groups also do. They will hit when nobody expects. But again, I think it should be a continuous engagement in terms of interventions by the US and others.
Let me just interject for instance. You mentioned something about intelligence gathering. Now, how effective do you think intelligence gathering was before and after this airstrike in preventing further attacks in these various states?
No, the airstrike would have been a result of several hours of intelligence, because in intelligence you don't calculate it in days, it should be hours. I mean, this is the process. You gather intelligence, you process it, you reevaluate it. You now look at your options. What do we do? What are the possible options in terms of response? Because what the government or the intelligence and security agencies will do is a response. So when and how, who do we deploy, where do we deploy, what's the capability of manpower we should deploy, and how should we deploy? So I think on a daily basis, the people within the security architecture work day and night. Gather intelligence, process it, evaluate it, look at the options, and look at the deployment tactics, processes, and when to deploy and who to deploy. It's going on, but because these activities are not on the street. They are not like activities that you carry out in Wuse Market. So citizens sometimes think, oh, the intelligence agencies or the security agencies are not doing enough. Yeah, but from what I know, activities go on an hourly basis. I mean, most of the times, you may not even know the possible attacks that are nipped in the bud. Yeah, they don't tell you.
Right.
No, they don't.
Yeah, but except at the point where there's a mass arrest or some huge activity that has happened, I think, well, the citizens need to know in order to build their confidence that we are really working for them. That's the ones they will come out at a press conference and say, look, we have just nipped XYZ in the board. Some of them, you keep it just because of strategic reasons.
But let me ask a question though. You know, when you may talk about keeping it because of strategic reasons, but do you think our security agents are, or will I say agencies, are effective, and do you think they're doing enough?
Well, every security agency anywhere in the world, just like any other activities, is a product of its society. The men and women who lay down their lives to protect us, they are brothers, they are sisters, they are cousins, they are sons, fathers and mothers. They didn't come from the sky. So if there are limitations you have within the larger Nigerian society, it could also, you could see traces of it within the system. There's something Plato had said, I mean, in the Republic is Aristotle's idea, Socrates' idea of what a society should be. That's the Republic. How you can organize your army, organize your entertainment industry, your media, your education system, in fact, the sum whole of a society. There's one word that I find very, very important. It says, the individual is a society writ large. If you want to look at take a look at the individual, is that individual that you enlarge and it becomes that society. What I'm saying in effect is simply this. Look, our security agencies work, they put in their best, they put in their capabilities, talents, and energy into their work. But again, do they have limitations? Just like any other security agency in the world, there are limitations. You know, when 9/11 happened, nobody expected it. If there's a 9/11 report, I mean, you can find it on the internet, by the US Congress. There's a full commission on 9/11, that's September 11, 2001 attack on World Trade Center and Pentagon and all that. If you read it, you could see that sometimes there are limitations to managing security architecture. I mean, the initial response, George F.W. Bush was the president of the United States at then. I remember Colin Powell was the was the National Security Advisor, U.S. National Security Advisor at that point. No, Secretary of, I think he was Secretary of State.
Secretary of State. There was Condoleezza Rice that was...
But incidentally, he used to be Chairman, Joint Chief of Staff.
Right.
So he is a 4-star military general. So when it happened, the first thing was, what went wrong? The first thing they realized was that, look, there was this lack of intelligence sharing between the CIA, FBI, and other agencies within the United States. And what they did after that was, there was a bill in the Congress to set up what they call Homeland Security, that is today.
Right.
Homeland Security was a product of, you could say, post-mortem of 9/11. And Homeland Security is the largest public agency in the United States as at today. And what does Homeland Security do? Homeland Security now looks at the core intelligence gathering, coordinates interagency affairs, and they also went ahead to set up another office of the Office of National Intelligence Agency. So there are about 13 security intelligence agencies within the United States. So it coordinates it. That coordination is, you can come to the table and say, look, gentlemen, what are the issues? You pick inputs from all the agencies. It becomes an interagency coordination activity. That's outside the National Security Advisor's office in the US. You know, the idea of National Security Advisor emanated from the United States.
Obviously.
That's where it came from. So the National Intelligence, the Office of National Intelligence, now it's the coordinator. But I think for Nigeria, if you ask me, my assessment is the intelligence agency, the security agencies have, over time, in the last 15 years, built some sort of synergy in terms of collaboration. Because the point is that if the army, for instance, gets an information and they escalate it to Chief of Defense Staff, who is a coordinator within the military circle, who now calls a meeting of the other service chiefs and say, look, the Air Force, you have a role to play, Navy, you have a role to play. So each of the agencies would have a role to play. And we've seen that coordination from time to time yielding some sort of results in terms of getting the bandits, the terrorists, and all that disseminated. The point is that if we didn't have these agencies, if we don't have them working, by now these terrorists would have overrun Nigeria.
I want to ask a question here, really quick, just to follow up to Jumai's last question. We sit here and we're hearing that there's a strategic partnership of some kind, or if you like, collaboration between Nigeria and the United States. Have we seen clear indications in that regard, or we're just living in denial and feeling comfortable about it?
There is. If you, on, I think, 30th of October, you know, that's when all this intervention by the US started. A tweet on Truth Social by Donald Trump talking about Christian genocide and his intention to intervene in Nigeria. We saw the pushback that same day, I mean, within hours. And on the 31st, Trump now came again for the second time and said, look, I am going to take XYZ steps. I'm coming to Nigeria to smoke out the terrorists and all that. And another pushback came. And Nigerians were talking. I have, you recall, I was here on your show to talk about it. What my assessment of the entire back and forth between Nigeria and the United States. I said, look, what we need is a clear strategic engagement. That's one, that the president of the United States and the president of Nigeria are on the same level. Recall I said it. I said, look, the advisors of the president who are talking on the street should rather put on their talking points and pass it on to the president, who might decide to appoint either foreign affairs minister or whoever he wishes to become the focal person in that engagement. And we've seen the president, for my thinking, seems to have appointed the National Security Advisor, Malam Nuhu Ribadu, to take that lead.
Right.
We saw visit to Washington, engagement, Pete Hegseth engaging the congregational Congress members who Trump had delegated this matter to. But even though it didn't exonerate Nigeria from being declared a country of particular concern, because the entire idea is put pressure on them, I'm talking about Nigeria, so that they can put processes in place towards addressing some of the issues raised. And we have seen back and forth visits by the congressmen, visit by the US intelligence community and all that back to Nigeria. And we now saw what culminated on the Christmas Day attack in Sokoto, and the reactions by Nigerians who are saying, no, you should have been in Sambisa Forest. But these are people, laymen, who are not experts, who may not have 0.1% of any intelligence, access to intelligence, saying where should be attacked. There's something called epiphenomena in epistemology. Epiphenomena is simply this: epistemology and metaphysics. You're looking at a train. The train had left about an hour ago, but you could see a smoke on the air from the locomotive. I'm talking about the old train that operates on
locomotive system.
And you would think you are sitting there at Enugu, or at Makurdi, or in Jos, or in Ilorin. The train is around. But what you're seeing is epiphenomena. That's what it's called. Epiphenomena is a smoke screen.
Right.
But that's not real. The train is not there. So if you're going to hit or attack that train, you are actually hitting air. So in intelligence community, because when you get intelligence, process it, analyze it, look at your options, even look at what are the possible effects should we do this on the civilian population. There are quite a lot to take in place or to consider in taking such action. I think that strike in Sokoto was precise, like Trump said. It was a precision, it got the target, and it had an impact.
All right, let's take a break now, everyone. When we return, Jeremiah will again start us on a couple of questions, including, for instance, how is it that on the one hand we're dealing with U.S. intervention, no thanks to President Donald Trump now, and then, of course, Israel is also saying that they are interested in what's happening on the ground in Nigeria as it has to do with insecurity. Please stay with us. Wake up with Global Morning, your daily guide to what's happening and making the rounds.
We delve into headlines, newspaper reviews, spot-on analysis, policies, current events, real talk, real issues that affect us all.
From the latest trends to the debates, every topic, every angle, Global Morning is where it all starts.
Global Morning,
For the latest issues,
always on point.
Watch Global Morning Monday to Friday at 7 a.m.
Is where it all starts.
Global Morning,
For the latest issues,
always on point.
Watch Global Morning Monday to Friday at 7 a.m. Saturday and Sunday at 8 a.m. on Global Television.
All right, you're welcome back, and it's still the first discuss of the day on Global Morning, and we're not doing it alone. We have Emmanuel Ozomena. He is a public policy consultant. We're looking at this spike of insecurity in Nigeria. You are most welcome to the program, Mr. Emmanuel.
Yeah, thank you.
Now let's look at these forest guards. Let's look at the structure and how it was formulated in Nigeria. Do you think it's a step in the right direction? Do you think they're well equipped? Do you think they understand what it is to be in the forest, to curb this menace of insecurity and fighting terrorism?
Yeah, well, I think the first question that should have come, we should have asked is who owns the forest? Does the federal government own the forest? That's number one. Because in terms of, if you look at the constitution around Nigeria, Nigeria is divided into 36 states and the FCT, and most of the times when a decision on laws are made, that law covers most laws enacted by National Assembly are only effective in the FCT. An example is the law on lottery, National Lottery Act. Right. In December 2004, the Supreme Court invalidated it, that it was inconsistent with the Constitution of Federal Republic of Nigeria.
That was in 2024.
Yeah, December, I think December 2024.
Right.
Yeah, so the entire structure around the National Lottery collapsed.
Was decentralized.
But lottery is decentralized. Pools and betting, it's a residual act. So the federal government of Nigeria can only make law for the lottery within the FCT. That's all. So today we no longer have a National Lottery Commission. Right. It's gone because so the first question, fundamental question should have been, I hope that decision on forest guard were taken in consultation with the states, because there's a forest in my village, there's a forest in your village. I'm
Very
sure.
true.
Yeah. So that's number one. Who understands the forest? The person who will understand the forest is the local. In the US, because I like looking at the US essentially because the United States is a federal system, is an atypical federal system.
Right.
And that's where the 1979 Constitution was lifted. Before 1979, we had a Republican Constitution, which had to do with the British Westminster, or you could call it British Westminster Constitution, which is a centralized system, sort of. So, but Nigeria, 1999 Constitution, just like 1979, is a federal oriented constitution. That's one. Then two, in the US, what they did was they have National Guard established by different states. Texas National Guard, Louisiana National Guard, California National Guard. So every state have National Guard. So that National Guard the President of the United States could say, Maryland, I will need your National Guard because we have incidences in District of Columbia, Washington, D.C. That is the capital that you could call FCT. Please, I would want 10 National Guards to come up here. That's the system in the US. And I think it's effective because when you drill down security to local root, it has more impact. Because the young man who is sent, say, for instance, to Sokoto or to Zamfara or to Abia comes from there. So he understands the geography of that place. Because in managing crime, internal security, you need to understand the geography of that area. So geography is very, very important.
Right.
So I would want to ask, the people who are sent to Oyo, for instance, are they from Oyo? People who are sent to Ondo, people who are sent to Adamawa, Taraba, Yobe, because that's how you can have an effective...
So you have to, first of all, localize the thinking.
That's my thinking. Because the person who is from Abia, or who is from Umuahia, Ikuano, understand Ikuano. So, because the first thing in security is geography. When the US, for instance, struck on December 25th. They went to a particular, so it's geography.
It was not random.
So it's important. That's my input. I think in the design, they need to go back, look at the geography, and say, who are we sending to Abia? Who are we sending to Adamawa? Who are we sending to Kaura Namuda? Who are we sending to Newman? Who are we sending to Lalmode? So it has to be localized. Because when you localize security, it has more impact. Say, for instance, I paid a visit in the course of my work to Zaria some years ago. It was a market. I needed to collect data. I was working for a donor agency, so I needed to collect data from farmers who came to sell their produce. Farmers we had supported. So I arrived at the market that day in Zaria with my colleague at 7 a.m. in the morning. Went to the chairman of the market association to introduce myself. The man told me that, look, Mr. Ozeman, I know when you came. They told me that there are new people who came to market today. So what it simply means that even in that market, they know people who are regular in the market and don't know when a new person shows up in the market. So what that taught me was that first, if you need to have an effective security, you need to localize it. You need to get local resource. Let's look at engagement with the insurgency in Borno, Yobe, Adamawa. You notice that we had some sort of result when we had civilian JTF. There were local people, hunters, community volunteers. They understood the geography, they understood the terrain. They had an understanding of everything you can call about local diversity of that place. And we had quite a lot of successes. And I think if I don't know whether my assessment is correct, as at today we still have local vigilante participating, supporting the security agencies. Right. So what I thought would have happened was, look at how do you have vigilante virtually in every communities now. How do we transit that vigilante into a more structured process? So what it will mean would be, if you hire within that vigilante ecosystem, pick them, do background check, look at who is suitable and who is not suitable. That's not, because in security engagement, the first thing and most important is background check. Very, very important, because you need to know, who am I hiring? What are his capabilities, capacities? What are his history? Very, very important. Then the second should be, where and how do I deploy? If you ask me, people should be deployed within their local environment. Would that be going to community policing? No, that's not. But it's having more, creating that ownership. That ownership is important, because what it does is that the man knows Chinelo, he knows Chinedu, he knows Emeka, he knows Tunde, he knows Tai, he knows Hamisu, he knows Sule, he knows Musa, he knows Hadiza, he knows everybody within that community. And he will be able to predict this is going to happen, because in security there's some level of predictability. Right. That's why ahead of time, Christmas is coming, police say, look, we have warned people to do XYZ, not to do knockout in this area, not to do those security advisory are actually products of intelligence. They are products of trying to avert instead of responding after the incident had happened.
Okay, I need to ask you this. Again, still talking about possible collaboration and foreign interference. We can understand the U.S. standpoint in terms of intervention regarding insecurity on our soil, but permit me to ask this: what is the business of Israel too?
Well, I was also taken aback when Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu, in his Christmas address to Christians, you know, Jews are not Christians, are not predominantly Judaism. So I understand Judaism too, because I'm one too. So I looked at, I thought through it. I said, and he mentioned Nigeria clearly, killing of Christians in Nigeria. So in my head, I'm thinking, is Nigeria getting global attention? That's the first thing I thought about, because Donald Trump's tweet post on Truth Social on October 31st put Nigeria on a global spot. That's number one thing he did. And because before now, not too many people across the world are aware of the security challenges in Nigeria. They might be aware, but not paying attention. But you know, anything US gets interested in,
Spikes up.
escalates, gets traction. That's one. So when Netanyahu made that statement and also repeated it again on a few days ago while he was in Florida at the joint press conference with President Donald Trump, I also thought about it. I said, is it that he's interested in collaborating with Nigeria? Are we going to have a tripartite collaboration? Because Israel has got quite a lot of hands-on on security issues, on anti-terrorism, because they've had years of having to protect the state of Israel.
Right.
So that would have provided, perhaps there are some experiences he wanted to share, but I think perhaps the framing and what people are reacting to is it that he wants to collaborate with the government of Nigeria in providing, perhaps because they've got quite a lot of tech in terms of security technology. Israel has got quite a lot of hands-on. Yeah, is that, do they want to bring the technology part of it into it? For me, what I would have done if I was an advisor to government is to say, look, whoever is my boss, why don't we approach the state of Israel and find out, are there some, because security, solving the security challenge is a collaborative effort. In fact, you need global partners, not just United States.
I want to ask you this as well. I spoke with somebody here, and the person said, look, he would have expected that once you had Mr. Badru, former Minister of Defense, leave or resign on health grounds, it would have been a bit more strategic if President Bola Tinubu took a further step to also relieve Matawalle, the Minister of State for Defense, of his duty. And the dynamic he's focusing on here is that General Christopher Musa, retired, was once Chief of Defense Staff. Of course, technically reports into Matawalle. Now, the coin has flipped. He's now Metawalle's boss, in the manner of speaking. That could create some friction that can have very nasty implications for the fight against insecurity. Would you like to share your thoughts?
Well, from my understanding of ministerial appointments, every minister is an honorable minister. When you talk about Minister of State, Cabinet Minister...
That's only political, right?
Yeah. It's just, it's not even political, it's more of... it's just the nuance.
And nomenclature, maybe?
Nomenclature, nuance of politics. Because in the ministries, for what I know, I've covered ministries as a journalist for over 20 years, about 28 years. So I understand the processes. In the ministry, usually you have division of labor. Some parastatals are manned by the Minister of State. Some are manned by
the senior minister.
The senior minister, if you may use that term. But in the real term, it doesn't exist. In the real practical terms. Because everyone has access to, the coordinating of cabinet coordinating officer is the secretary to the government of the federation.
All right.
while matters around public service are routed through the head of service. You know, before 1988, there used to be one office, secretary to the government of federation and head of service. It was one office. It was as a result of Professor Dotun Phillips Committee's recommendation in 1988 that IBB splitted it. In fact, the last secretary and head of service, I mean, the last person who held that office is the late Alhaji Adamu Fika. If the day it was announced by IBB that he splitted it, he resigned. Baba resigned. I know him very well. The man said, no, I can't take it, and the man took a walk. IBB later appointed him the first pioneer chairman of Federal Character Commission. So what I'm saying essentially is this. I don't think that debate makes any sense because General Christopher Musa is a disciplined, he's an officer gentleman, so he understands his role. Alhaji Matawale also knows his job, what his rules are. If you like, go to any ministry, speak to, you are a journalist, speak to people who work around ministry. I mean, there's a clear division of function, but Nigerians are not aware because it's not important communicating this to them. It's an internal issue processes. But what I'm saying essentially is simply this. What we need to do, in fact, under a presidential system of government, you have one presidency. I'm sure you're aware. That's why even in the office of the president, every appointee is appointed is an advisor to the president. So you can be deployed to the office of the vice president, even or to the office of a minister, as the case may be, depending on what your clear job function is. So for me, it's not a debate. I think Nigerians should focus their energies on how do we decimate the terror groups? How do we solve the security problems? How do we, ensure that we strengthen and deepen the capacity and capabilities of the security agencies? For me, coming of the U.S. in the Nigeria's security ecosystem would deliver three major things. First, there will be improvement in capacity and capabilities. There will be some sort of information sharing at top level. And essentially, we would end up having a more robust and secured country.
Oh, Mr. Emmanuel, let me just quickly chip this in because of our time. Looking at all of this and the intervention of the United States coming into Nigeria, do you think Nigeria might end up like countries like Afghanistan, Iran, just like how US have actually intervened in their matters, and we see how their countries have turned out? So I think that's the fear of most Nigerians. What's your take on that?
No, it's simply, for me, those guys are actually reading the situation from basic and primary perspective. They are not tested. We have seen countries pull out of terrorism as a result of support from other countries. One of the biggest success stories, Colombia, where we saw the terrorists even coming to ask for votes. Another success is Northern Ireland. I mean, Northern Ireland for over 100 years was Irish Republican Army. But today, they had to create a political party, Sinn Féin. And today, they've had a reform. And there's no bombing in London, no bombing in anywhere. So the point is getting a focus and saying this is what we want to achieve. We want to achieve a secure
and stay with that focus.
Society.
I would like to say a big thank you to you. Time will fail us because I know you have a quite brilliant thought to share in this regard. I would like to appreciate you for your time on the program. Emmanuel Ozamena,
my pleasure. And thank you.
Morning.
Thank you.
Right.
And at this point, we'll like to wrap it up on the program, Global Morning. Hope you had an amazing time with us. And of course, I am Jumai Manson. Thank you so much, Emmanuel Ozamena, for being a part of the program.
My pleasure.
And my amazing co-host.
I'm Uyi Agmofwebe. Thank you for watching.